This is the Micro Machine Man presenting the most midget miniature motorcade of micro machines. Each one has dramatic details, terrific trim, precision paint jobs, plus incredible Micro Machine pocket playsets. There's a police station, fire station, restaurant, service station, and more. Perfect pocket portables to take any place. And there are many miniature playsets to play with, and each one comes with its own special edition Micro Machine vehicle and fun, fantastic features that miraculously move. Machine pocket playsets, so tremendous and tiny, so perfectly precise, so dazzlingly detailed, you'll want to pocket them all. Micro Machines and Micro Machine pocket playsets.
That takes me back. Welcome to a new episode of Tom's Geeky Garage. If you're from the 80s, you probably remember Micro Machines. They were cool little cars that came with transforming play sets. One that I particularly remember growing up was the Back to the Future 2 play set. Came with a futuristic gas station and a miniature DeLorean and a police car. Today, we're going to be making a similar play set using the Kenner Ghostbuster franchise. Now, my initial thought on how to do this was to take something like this and just scale it down to the size of a Micro Machine in the computer. But it's not as cut and dry as that. See, Micro Machines had a unique form factor, almost like dwarf vehicles, where they were squashed and lifted and they had big wheels. So we're going to do some custom design work on the Ecto before we can make it into a Micro Machine. So let's get started. But before we do, make sure you like and subscribe, hit the bell icon for notifications when I drop new videos, which hopefully will be more often. But let's get started. So before we get started, I want to take a look at these Micro Machines and take some measurements to see if there's any universal measurements that we can use in our build. So what I'm going to do is just kind of review these things. So let's look at them. Well, right off the bat, I can tell that the wheelbase looks the same as far as the width of the wheels. So we're going to take that measurement and we're going to use that for the wideness of our vehicle. So it looks like we're at, what's that? It looks like it's about 15, 16, 17 millimeters, I would say. 15, 16, 17. Yeah, maybe it's 15, 16 and a half. So let's go 16 and 1/2 millimeters. 16 and a half millimeters. The wheelbase this direction looks like it would be the same. Unfortunately, this truck has more wheels. So what they did is they split the difference for the back. So you can tell that the wheel of the Lamborghini meets right in the middle of the two back ones. So they had a measurement and then they just split the difference there. So we're not going to use that, but we'll go ahead and use this one. Now, when you're doing the wheelbase for wheels like this, you measure from the center of the hub. So each of the center hubs. Okay, and that looks like that is about, well, to be honest, it looks like it's about 15, 16, 17. So this is almost a perfect square as far as the wheelbase from here to here. Look. Take that. Almost a perfect square, only half a millimeter off. Alright, so we got 16 and a half, and then we got 17. Height, about 11 millimeters, but that doesn't matter because ours will be different because this is a very low car and the Ecto one's very tall, so we'll make up that measurement. So I think that's all we need here. We got a wheelbase. Actually, let's check out the wheels. I actually want to measure these wheels too, because I'm going to basically make duplicates of these wheels exactly. So we're going to just take the width of those. Let's see, 4 millimeters wide, and the diameter is going to be 5, 6, 7 millimeters. So we'll divide that to get the radius because Cinema 4D uses radiuses. So we'll just divide that. So, okay, so we got our measurements. Let's go over to Cinema 4D and get started. Now in Cinema 4D, I've already basically went through and built the wheels and set them up on the proper distance from each other to start modeling. I basically matched the Micro Machine wheels that I had as close as I could. So now let's go ahead and get started to do the body. Now I've already took into Photoshop an image of an Ecto-1. You can see right here. And then I've, in Photoshop, have squashed it. I oversized the wheels to match our wheelbase and kind of lifted the top to make it top heavy. And we're going to use this to basically start our geometry. So what I tend to do when I do stuff like this is I start with a cube, and then I subdivide that cube, and then I kind of adjust points, like you can see here, that I make. So I'll keep adding new points and then just moving them around and shifting until I get to the point where I'm getting the general shape. You can see that here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to start going in and putting in details. So I'll continue to subdivide that geometry and kind of move things around and try to get the shape as best as possible. Now what you can see here is I'm just putting in some of the detail in the front. But now we've got it basically roughed out. I skipped a big chunk of the build, but you can see the bottom half here at the top and the wheels. So now let's kind of show some geometry from the other vehicles too. So alright, so here is the RTV, the remote trap vehicle. Now this is a model I actually built almost a year ago, and I had it just stored away for a later project and decided to go ahead and just throw it into this Micro Machine world. And you can see it next to the Ecto as far as the scale of that vehicle. Alright, so here is the Highway Haunter. Now this was the hardest of all the builds because it needed to have a lot of moving parts and it's very small. So trying to fit all the little hinges inside of it and not make it look goofy was a challenge. But I think we did a pretty good job of making everything fit at this scale. And here you can kind of see some of the working parts of how I think it should work. Now, there's a lot of detail missing in this, obviously, if you have the toy. But for the scale and everything, this is the best we could do. I think any other detail would get lost once it was printed. Alright, so now starting the playset, I used photo references I took of all the different sides of the firehouse and the doors, and you can see me using those images to create the door here. Now, what I wanted this playset to do is I want it to be a storage unit to store the Micro Machines, but I also want it to have a few functions so you can play with it. So what I came up with is an Ecto launcher, and that is just a it's on the outside there. You can see there's a trash can, and the idea would be when you'd flick this trash can out, the Ecto will come out, and I think it should work pretty well just using it where you just kind of slide it. So you can see here how it will open, and you can also see here the front doors will open, and we will also have the slide that will push out the car. Pretty cool. So now that we got this basically figured out, I'm gonna go ahead and just take it to the printer and see what happens. Nice little 3D render of the kind of early playset here. Alright, so here is the first prototype print. Now this is before I finished the car. I just wanted to get an idea of what details I will lose and what I'll keep. And I pretty much kept all the detail I put into it. So now I'm going to finish it up and then print out all the final parts like you can see here. So these are just curing outside in the sun until they're nice and hard. I'm going to skip the painting process here. And I think we'll go right into the toy. Alright, so let's take a closer look at what we have here. Let's start out by taking a look at the cars first. So first, we have the Ecto-1. It has really great detail, all the front end, grille. You can see it's got the No Ghost logos, oversized there. Here's the back. Very cool. Rolls really well. hold on. Let me get a micro machine so we can compare to a actual micro machine. So here is an actual micro machine, so you can see the size there of all these vehicles. They roll pretty much the same. Okay, so let's lay this to the side here. Let's take a look at the Highway Haunter. Okay, so the Highway Haunter, here's the front, the back, and you can lift it up. Now, unlike the real toy where this was like spring loaded, this one's not spring loaded, just kind of a manual kind of thing here. But yeah, it's pretty cool. It's so tiny. Its parts are so fragile, but it also rolls pretty good. Yeah, he was the last one I made, and like I said, you can see scaled next to the other vehicles, kind of how they look together. All right, now this is the RTV trap from Ghostbusters Afterlife. Now, I've had to piece this together from a bunch of photos that I have, so it's not going to be 100% accurate. I haven't got permission to see the actual trap yet, so I basically used what photos I had and what information I had from fans and other people around Ghost Corps and Sony to kind of piece this together. This is probably like 60-70% accurate. There's a lot of smaller details, but I think for now what I've got is pretty cool. Did the monster truck wheels, and the scale of that next to one of these is quite, you know, just it rolls pretty good too. The bigger wheels I think help. And what you all been waiting to see is the Firehouse. Now, like I said, I wanted this to double as a storage container. So you can open this up and you can place vehicles inside of it. Oh, let me move this slide back. Put vehicles inside of it. Like so. Close it up. Got your cars in there. Oops, flip that one over. And the other thing we added was the Ecto launcher. Let me open the little doors here. The Ecto launcher, so we can launch the little car out, which works pretty okay for what it is. There's no springs or anything in it. It's just a quick little slide, so you can just slide it and pop it out. And I'm not sure if the actual if it will open the doors if I do it. Oh yeah, look at that. Right out the door. Boom. Let's try that again. Oh, wait. Sometimes it works, sometimes not. This being a prototype, obviously, it's not, it hasn't been played with too much, and I think the doors are a little stiff for it to launch out the door every time, but I think we can fix that. But other than that, the launcher itself, you got this little trash dumpster outside, and then inside, if we open it up, on the inside we have a little set of cabinets, which is the cabinets that hold the uniforms. And it's just a little slide, and when you slide it, it just kind of pushes the car out. So, not a lot of mechanical parts. I wanted to keep it really simple, mainly because of the scale. But I think it does what I want it to do. Oh, didn't do that. Didn't launch that one. But that's pretty much it. This is modeled, like I showed, pretty much 100% from the actual Kenner Firehouse, using photos for scale. But that's it. Let's get that out of here. That is the full playset. RTV, Highway Haunter, Ep2 and the Firehouse. Now, I'm thinking about doing another series of these and doing the Ghostbuster Afterlife, like a Ghostbuster Afterlife playset with the new Ecto with the gunner seat. I don't know how I'm going to do that at this scale, but it'd be nice to have a small push button that shoots out the gunner seat, you know, with a little mini door. I mean, if I was able to like get this pulled off, I can probably do that. And then for the toy sets, I don't know if the Firehouse is even in the new Ghostbuster movie. It's probably not. So maybe we'll do the barn, you know, like the old barn that they find the Ecto in, and maybe do something fun with the barn. I don't know. We'll see. But there'll probably be another toy set coming out in the next few months. Everything came out looking really cool. I hope everyone really liked it. Now, before I get a million questions on when you can buy these, I don't mass produce these myself. I have a pretty close relationship with Sony Pictures and Ghost Corps, and I don't have licensing to sell these things, so I won't be selling them. But what I will do is release the 3D files so you can make these yourselves. Now, normally I would just like give you the files right off the bat, but for channel's sake and to help the channel grow, we're going to do a little bit of a give and take kind of thing. So what I'm going to do is when this video gets to 200 views, I'm going to release the files for the Ecto right off the bat. That should be easy. I'll get that probably in the first few hours. Then we get when we get to 400 views, we'll release another vehicle. When we get to 600 views, we'll release the RTV. And then when we get to 800 views, we'll release the playset itself. So once the video gets 800 views, all the 3D files will be released. That should happen pretty quick, I think. I think we'll get that probably in the first few days. So, yeah, so hopefully you guys can get the files to make these yourselves. Thanks for watching. We got another cool Kenner Ghostbuster thing coming up in our next video. So like and subscribe and have a good one. This one's small. Let me see.